Hi everyone, it's Julia. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about tips to avoid romance scammers. If any of you have watched Bad Vegan, Tinder Swindler, Dirty John, or even been on the dating scene yourself, I'm sure you are familiar with how toxic this scene can be sometimes. I've been married for 20 years and I'm in a healthy and happy relationship, but that didn't come easy. I actually had to live through something really negative to know what I wanted. If any of you are in a bad dating season, I just want to encourage you that it doesn't have to stay that way. We can learn from our mistakes, and we can actually learn from the mistakes and the experiences of other people. So I've been out of the dating scene for quite some time. I haven't actually ever been on a dating app. I don't really know what that is like, but I do know what it's like to be fooled and to be tricked and to be stolen from and lied to and cheated on. I hope this video will encourage you to hold out for God's best in your life. My story is actually shared in my testimony playlist. Right now, we're going to be talking about how people are drawn to toxic people, what draws toxic people to a good person, and vice versa. So for me, I believe that my childhood trauma had a lot to do with why I allowed this man into my life. And when we allow someone into our sphere, into our heart, into our mind, into our body, into our home, into our finances, this really leaves us vulnerable. And so a lot of people take dating as just something fun that we do. But in actuality, dating leaves you extremely vulnerable. And I think it's wise to be very particular about who you choose to spend your time with and share your life with. And this is something that most people, when they first start out dating, don't really think about. They're just there to have a good time. But I also have known women that thought they were having a good time with a guy and they end up having a child with him and now being attached to this man for the rest of their life. There are some serious ramifications for not considering who we are allowing ourselves to be with. Although I couldn't see it at the time, my wounds were very obvious to my predator. I believe that I was targeted. Here are some questions to consider when you're dating. Before you allow anyone access to your heart, I want you to ask yourself, why am I drawn to this person? Do they bring chaos? If so, is chaos familiar to me? Is this person selling me a fantasy that I want to believe? Am I being rushed into a relationship or an important decision? And is this person relying on me in an unhealthy way? For me, being with the wrong person and a predator, it cost me 6 years of my life. I had mysterious health issues. I lost thousands of dollars because they were stolen from me in every way possible. My furniture and car were stolen. My safe, wallets, bank accounts were constantly being broken into. My sexual health was at risk because he cheated on me, and he endangered my life because he was involved in actually illegal activities with my money. So I never felt safe with this person. I was very, very ignorant. When I met this boy, he was actually one of my first official kind of boyfriends. I was away at college and he targeted me right away and just would not leave me alone until I became his girlfriend. And to me, that's a sign. So if any of you girls are out there, even guys, like if a girl just targets you and won't leave you alone, they won't even give you breathing space to think, I believe that's a tactic to pressure you. And so you're not thinking straight. So number one, the perfect victim is an ignorant person. If you're a parent, it's important to expose your children to the truth in a safe environment. Do not shield them to the degree that they aren't aware of predators or how to protect themselves. Warn your kids what to look out for, and do this from the time they are young until they are ready to leave home. I know that that's advice for a parent. If you weren't taught that at home, you need to teach that to yourself. So I wasn't taught those things in my home. I wasn't taught how to protect myself, what to look out for. My parents and the house that I grew up in, we were very, very, very sheltered, and that actually worked against me. Unfortunately, I grew up in a school that had 35 people in my graduating class, and I went to this school from the time that I was in kindergarten. I pretty much knew the same group of people from kindergarten all the way through high school. And this kind of kept me in a little social bubble, and I wasn't really exposed to or aware of people outside of that bubble and then what was going on. The world was moving and advancing, and I was stuck in this little bubble and I didn't know what was out there. And that was horrific for me to deal with, going away to college and being overwhelmed by what was actually out there. Parents try to protect their children. They want to isolate them and keep them safe, but you can't keep your kids in this bubble. But what you can do is you can empower them by educating them. And that was the part that was missing for me. My parents did their very best and they tried to protect me and put me in this bubble. But what they didn't do is empower me with education on these things. A perfect victim is also insecure. So as a parent, it's your job to speak life into your kids and to help build up their confidence and self-esteem, to make sure that they feel valued, they feel treasured, they feel loved, even when they're not acting perfect. I'm giving that advice to parents, but I believe that you also need to do that for yourself. So if you are going out there as an insecure person, I believe that that puts you in a vulnerable place when you're dating, that you need to be secure in yourself to know that you don't need to please this person, you don't need to follow this group or do what this person's doing. You need to do what's best for you. And you need to know yourself and be comfortable in yourself, and be comfortable with your yes, be comfortable with your no. And if you aren't comfortable with those things, you will be a target. This is something that you need to learn. If you don't learn it in your home, then you need to teach yourself. You need to show yourself where your value lies. Number 3, predators like to isolate. If anyone encourages you to cut ties with your family or your friends or any healthy influences, they are not a good person, because anybody who is normal and healthy understands the balance of our community, that we need friends. Like, you can't just have a boyfriend and no girlfriends. Like, our girlfriends are part of what keeps us in check, I think, and also to healthy family members. So if there is a person that is trying to just be the only in your life, that is a definite red flag. You should always feel like you have control over your own life. For me, I'm just going to share generally how my predator targeted me. Was I was alone. So I was away at college and I didn't know anyone at my school. I had limited experience. I had never been away from this school of 35 people. So now I'm at a university and the campus is so big. It was beyond intimidating for me, and I was scared. I was afraid and I was lost all the time. This boy saw that I needed help and became like my savior and would rescue me and walk me to and from places. And so that was his in. I needed help, he offered to help me, and he was the only one that did. My predator used words of flattery. And because I was so depleted, I did not come from a background where people encouraged me or told me I was smart or beautiful or any of those things. This person was telling me things that I had not heard my whole life. And it just kind of filled me up with something that I didn't know I needed. And it made me feel important and special. Those are things that we need to know that about ourselves. We should never be depending on someone else to build our self-esteem. My relationship with my family really wasn't the most healthy. I dreamed of going to college, and my family didn't want me to go to college. My dad did not support that and financially could not handle it, and so basically said, you're on your own and don't come back. I felt like I had to make it on my own. I felt completely rejected by my family, left to figure everything out on my own. And it was one of the scariest times of my life. I really didn't know what I was good at. I didn't know what I should study. I didn't have any guidance or help from my family. And so I was pretty isolated from my family. I was trying to figure this out on my own. And this guy saw that, as he really was there for me in ways that my family weren't. So here are some signs of a male predator, at least for me. This is my experience. A man that's consumed with fashion labels and brands. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I just remember that my ex lusted after fancy cars, and he was all about embellishing himself. He was not interested in adorning me. He just wanted all this attention. He wanted this flashiness. He Actually, I believe he wanted me as a way to make him look good. It wasn't like he actually wanted me. He actually wanted me like a prop. Number two, any man who competes with you for attention. So my ex took it as a personal assault when someone paid attention to me and they weren't paying attention to him. It was really bizarre. It was almost like, well, as women, we see when other women are jealous and they act catty, that's kind of what we expect, but you don't really expect that from the guy that you're dating. And that's what I got a lot. He would do really strange things, like he wanted me to shave my head bald. He said I would look beautiful pregnant, just really weird things. My predator, he was also a person that had no shame and no remorse, like no conscience. He had a very entitled mindset that everything of mine was his. He just assumed it. My money was his, my friends were his. He just took and took and took and took, and he never ever gave. He only gave if he thought he was gonna get something out of it. So there was always an exchange. It was never from a generous heart. Here are the reasons why I think women stay too long. The target's just invested too much. She doesn't want to think about her time being wasted, and so she tries to justify wasting all that time by investing even more. So sometimes as women, we just need to cut our losses and just move on and not be so sentimental about things, because I think that being sentimental is actually something that is used against us. Women stay too long because the predator has sold the illusion that the victim is fully dependent on him, and also has created a circumstance where they really might be just believing the best in someone who really hasn't earned that right yet. These are the tips of things that I've learned. A healthy provider never asks a woman for financial or physical support. He does not play the victim. He does not make excuses. He does not deplete a woman, and he builds his woman up and supports her. How do you avoid falling for a scammer? Don't get involved in a relationship too fast. You need to vet long and hard so you don't get emotionally attached to the wrong person. And I know as women, we love to fantasize about the potential of a person instead of letting our minds tell us, oh, this could be this and this means that. Just look at the reality of what the situation actually is. And over time, let that determine where your future goes. When we begin to fantasize a little too much, that actually works against us. Don't sleep with any man that is not your God-ordained husband. They're doing studies on this, that when you exchange your DNA, it really messes with your hormones and it really clouds your thinking. I wanted to remain a virgin until I got married. That was my personal thing. Unfortunately, I gave it to, and one of the reasons why I stayed with him is because I gave him my virginity, because I'm not the kind of person that would sleep around. To me, this was such a precious gift. I felt like I almost had to sink with the ship because I made that one bad choice, that I was kind of stuck with that and I need to make it work. Number three, it's really important to have friends who honor you, who actually love you, that will give you honest feedback. So I really actually enjoy friends that are brutally honest. I think that's very refreshing. And I mean, of course, we all need to be polite and nice. At the end of the day, what we actually need is truth. And so if somebody's not healthy for you, I really don't want my friends to be like, he's great. No, tell me what you really think. And then when your friends are actually honest with you, don't punish them. Take their input, take everything they say, and don't tell your boyfriend or the guy that you're seeing. Use that in your own mind and put it aside for something that you're going to consider. Number four is do your inner work. Before I met John, after I had gotten out of this horrible relationship, my friends were setting me up with different guys, and I could just feel that I just wasn't ready to date yet. I was too wounded from what this man had done to me. He had lied to me and just done so many horrible things, just messed with my head so bad. I just couldn't go out and have fun dating. Every time a man spoke, I was like, they're a liar. And I knew that's technically not true, but my heart just wasn't ready for it. And so what I did is I gave myself a break. And I just didn't date for a while. Just kind of healed from what needed to be healed. And I wasn't even saved really at the time. That's just what I did. But I believe now that if I would have done my inner work and started to work through my abandonment issues with my family and the wounds of not having a good, healthy relationship with my father. If I would have done that work, I probably would have met John even sooner. It's just really important for you to recognize the areas that are not healthy and then get them healthy so that you can actually attract a healthy person. Never commit to finance a man. If you do, you will attract boys and you will attract predators, because a full-grown man will not depend on a woman to support him. The circumstance could be switched around and the female is the breadwinner. But typically speaking, men, I feel, are hardwired to be providers and to be the man of the house. And when that dynamic is shifted, it really throws things off. And I feel like it puts the female in a position where she's doubly vulnerable. After what I lived through, I really appreciate that my husband is nothing like my ex-boyfriend. He fully provides for me, fully makes sure that I'm completely taken care of. He is the exact opposite. Number 6 is stop seeking validation from others. Now, you may not think that you are like this, but if you are walking around insecure and you don't know who you are as a woman of God, as a child of God, then you are open to allowing the flattery of others to manipulate you. So it's really important to just know who you are. Guard your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life. Proverbs 4:23. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope these tips will help you on the dating scene, and I pray that your dating experience is a joyful one. I'll talk to you soon.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward